guys, it's Jen. This is Reframing Me, and I'm your host, Dr. Jennifer Brubaker. Your girl has been busy, y'all. I have been working on I guess you could say it's a passion project, but I have been working on it for months now. But really, in these last few weeks, it has been at a point where I have just been really immersed in it. It just seems to keep growing and expanding and kind of switching gears a little bit, and I am just going with it. I will finally have at least the first portion out and done next week, and I cannot wait to tell y'all about it. It really has been the perfect distraction for me. And maybe if I'm being honest, maybe I have let myself get absorbed and consumed by it because it's been distracting me, because I miss my son being at home. I miss him so much. I will say that it's honestly somehow even harder to not have him around the house than I even imagined. And I imagined it to be really, really hard. If you are new here, my son is a freshman in college, and so we are just trying to adjust to him not living here. And it's truly like a piece of the puzzle is just missing. And I will totally say I am one of the lucky ones, right? I mean, he is literally less than 10 minutes away from home, but that doesn't make it not hard. It softens the pain a bit, totally. It softens it because he can pop home once a week, twice a week, which of course I realize is once or twice a week more than most moms get. So I know that I'm lucky, but it doesn't fix it. He's still not here. And the trips home are very quick and really just so he gets a few hours to decompress, like lie around in his own space, shower in his own shower, eat something he doesn't get at school. I mean, I know he misses us and he probably loves to see us, but I'm realistic. And I know that the draw of home is probably more the reason than the draw of seeing me. And then the whole time that he's here, it's like I'm in my head. How long is he staying? Don't do the stuff that you need to do or like would normally do because you need to enjoy him being here. You need to talk to him. You need to stare at him. You need to hug him. There's this whole crazy narrative going on in my head. I'm like having this internal discussion. I could ask him when he's going back, but I don't want to. I don't want to inadvertently remind him that he wants to go back, but I also don't want him to feel like I'm somehow making him feel like he should stay for me, but I would kind of like to know how long so I can properly enjoy it. If it's like an hour, I will just sit and stare, but if it's overnight, I could go about my normal life. And then what even is the magic number that I would be looking for? And do I push? Do I even ask? But it's okay. All of that internal dialogue and discussion, I will still take it any day. I am nothing if not grateful that he is nearby, for sure. But that doesn't mean it still hasn't been hard. And in some ways, the in and out constantly, it actually kind of makes things a little bit harder, I think, than if, say, he only came home at breaks because his like presence is here and it's unpredictable now. Obviously, I do prefer this to him not having a presence here, but it's still been an adjustment. And this week, I know he's been really busy, which is great. It's again, obviously, what I want. I want him to be happy and busy and not feeling a need to escape to come home. This is the goal. But it doesn't make it not hurt and not be sad when I catch myself just kind of wishing that he was upstairs. So yes, it is possible that I am throwing myself into work as a distraction for myself because it is hard. All of these changes that we all have in our families, it's all hard. And it all goes back to literally exactly what we talked about in our very, very first episodes. And I was feeling it then too. And that was a few years ago, years before he wasn't living here. So please don't think that I don't realize how different and how hard it is for you, maybe with a teen starting high school or even the change to starting middle school. It's all difficult. But that goes back to this overall concept of our family as a system. Remember that? Remember back when we talked about systems theory and looking at it from a systems perspective? Well, that's actually where we're going to start our conversation today. But we're not going to talk just about how hard it is for us moms when our system changes. Of course, we know this already, empty nest and all. We do hear and talk about that quite a bit. We're going to expand our conversation to something that I don't think gets talked about enough. I remember though one day when I did think of it a bit back and I'm like, well, shit, I didn't even think about that. Great. Now I have something else to worry about. But when your child leaves for college, it is a huge and pivotal moment in the whole family's life. Yes, it absolutely brings excitement and growth and new opportunities for your college student. But it is exceptionally hard for those of us who are left behind. And we can totally get so caught up in our own feelings that we don't realize quite how hard it is for the younger siblings. It can trigger such a range of emotions that challenges the stability of the entire family system dynamic. The younger siblings, and especially those who are close in age to the older sibling, and I'll remind you that my three kids are 3 years and 4 months apart from my oldest to my youngest. So not quite Irish triplets, I guess, if that's a thing, but still pretty much 3 and 3 years. And for them, they may feel a significant emotional void, and mine do. And then, of course, parents, well, we face this dual burden now of managing our own feelings of sadness and supporting all of our children through this adjustment. So, yes, the college freshman who is navigating their own feelings potentially of homesickness and overwhelmedness and change, but also we need to support and guide our younger ones through it too. And depending on their age and their maturity, it may be harder for them to understand and to acknowledge. There was one point, and it was like the first week of school, when my middle definitely seemed a bit hurt that Tobias wasn't around more. I think he was expecting it to be more of a this was his home base and he went to UNCW rather than UNCW being his home base and he pops in here kind of thing. And I tried to explain that it would get better and that he was just trying to get settled in, to find his way. And I told him that the university is intentionally trying to occupy all of the kids' times in order to get them acclimated and to distract many of them for how homesick they actually are. And he said, and it was so sweet and honest, he's like, I wish they did something to distract us because we're the ones who really need the distraction. My sweet boy, I know it's so hard. And also, then there's one of the boys' mutual close friends. He's an only, and he's always here a lot, yes, but he is here like literally almost always the last number of weeks. His mom keeps telling me that if he's here too much, just send him home when he overstays his welcome. But I've told her how I am actually so appreciative of him being here because he has filled a void that we have had since Tobias left. And he totally has. We are a family system of 5, and it is just crazy how going down to 4 changes all of that. And having their friend around, it's really weird how it does make it feel more normal. But I have also really found watching those 2 boys missing Tobias that I find it to be so interesting. There is such a sense of loss. They both miss him so much. They're visibly sad whenever it comes up, or hopeful whenever I mention that he's going to be coming home, or when he comes home and then has to leave to go back. They are sad that he leaves, or when he has to cut off their phone call. It's heartbreaking to see. It's sweet, but it's sad. And they are not accepting his college friends the way that I would have expected, like at all. These boys, my two, have shared friends forever. They each have always just kind of made friends and brought them into the mix, and then everybody just overlaps, and they all have always gotten along so well. I mean, this is how this friend of theirs ended up here. He was Tobias's close friend, and then he became friends with Kane, but they are all so very close. And these two, my middle and his friend, I'm not sure what the right word would be. Jealous or angry or bitter. Basically, they feel like they have been replaced with Tobias. This other friend happened to be here one of the times the other day. And so there were three of them total here, Kane and then two friends. And they were talking about Tobias's roommate, about how he stole Tobias. He turned our squad into a trio. I mean, they were joking, obviously. I mean, just the worst use of squad. Obviously, they were joking, but the sentiment was real. It's like they're almost blaming the new friends for him being in college, for him not living here, for things being different, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously, it doesn't make sense. It's not logical, but it makes sense in the context of the loss that they feel. And then my daughter, she's handling it differently. She is a bit more detached from things. Like she's trying very hard to act like it's no big deal. She has definitely been more withdrawn, keeps more to herself. She's using the space to adjust and to process this new normal. Although I've also noticed one of their other friends who actually is in Texas, so he's quite a distance away from us. His girlfriend is still here. She's a senior now, and she has been at our house hanging out with Ever a lot. And so it's interesting that her void for her boyfriend being away has been to come and spend time here with us. And my daughter's void for having her brother here has kind of been her. And so it's interesting to see how everyone in all different relationships is trying to adjust. So that's what we're going to have our conversation about today. We'll look at it like we always do from a systems theory approach to try to understand these emotional issues and the behavioral changes that those of us who are, quote, left behind, that we're facing. But we'll also talk about the adjustment process that our college freshmen are facing, and we'll get into some strategies that we can use to make the transition just a bit easier. Hopefully, this will resonate with those of you who have a college student, but for those of you who have younger teens, it will be good to get an idea of what's potentially on the horizon. I mean, I never really gave the impact that it would have on them all that much thought at all. I was, of course, selfish and thought about me. And I obviously thought about him, but them, I don't know. I guess it just slipped my mind a bit. Like other than that one day when it kind of hit me, it really just was not something I ever thought about. I guess like when my daughter was in, I don't know, like a fourth or fifth grade, and all of a sudden we realized that she had no idea how to read a clock. Like, I guess I just didn't think about it. Like, I never thought, oh, I should teach her how to read a clock. I guess those poor forgotten third children, right? But okay, when an older sibling leaves for college, the younger ones are left to cope. They're left to cope with a loss of a companion, the loss of their leader. And this is particularly true for those kids who are not only siblings, but also close friends. I mean, these kids have spent all of their lives with the older one as their best friend, their play partner, their role model, their fearless leader, their, confidant, their social partner. That is a significant emotional loss for them, especially when they're a bit younger and struggle to process it all. So, just a quick refresher, we are saying here that our families are a system, which means that families function within a certain range of day-to-day predictability. And systems theory explains that families function as these interdependent units, meaning that when one member leaves, it disrupts the entire system. And younger siblings may feel this disruption the most as they are facing like just daily life around the house without that presence of someone who played a central role in their life and their actions and their emotional support system. In the family system, we are all continually negotiating our relationships with each other as our family as a whole strives to meet our goals. And we are constantly evolving and changing as the family members interact and as they grow and as they change. So each member of the family system is interdependent and is a related component in the system. And we all influence each other with their behaviors and our behaviors. So, like how the family fits together, right? Everything that one person does or one person feels, it impacts all of the others because we are interconnected. It's like we are all standing in a circle with bungee cords on us. If one person pulls, we all would feel it, right? And if one pulls really hard, we all need to react because of the fact that we are interconnected. Or I always describe it as being like a pie, like a gooey, maybe cherry pie. If you cut out a piece of our system pie, that piece takes a part of the crust with it, some of the structure that makes the pie a pie. So what's left in the pan, all of that filling then oozes to fill the void in the pie pan because the pan needs something in the void. So the rest of the pie, it needs to compensate. And that's our family. Our family needs to continue on as a family, functioning even without that missing piece. But it's an adjustment. And no, it's not the same as it was when it was intact, when it was an intact pie or an intact family. But it's still, we have to adjust, just like it had to adjust. Someone needs to take the trash out on Thursday nights. Well, now I guess it's Monday nights. After 8 years in our house, they just decided to change our trash day to Tuesday from Friday. And I have very little confidence that we are ever going to remember that. But even without our trash taker, our designated trash taker, we need to take the trash out. Kane has become in charge of the logistics now because he's the one driving them to school and to other stuff. So he, the same kid who previously paid attention to none of the logistical elements of our life, he is now in charge of that because he has to be in charge of it. Interestingly, my daughter, I noticed, has started putting 2 AirPods in the kitchen when she's sitting at the counter doing her work and listening. And it used to only be 1. And I am pretty sure that's not a coincidence. I'm pretty sure that it's because when I'm in the kitchen, I just kind of keep talking. And now I expect her to be the one to respond because in the past, Tobias was always the one who would keep one ear open for me and listen and always respond to my chit chat. And now she's finding that she's the one who's stuck in the kitchen with my random chatter. And so I am not completely sure if correlation proves causation in this case, but I would hazard a guess that her putting both AirPods in is basically saying, shut the fuck up to me. And I'm pretty sure that that's why she's wearing it. Well, someone needs to hear what I have to say. It's important. But roles need to be filled to keep the system functioning, just like the pie plate needs to be full. Okay, so let's start with some things that you might be seeing or might be able to expect to see someday, some typical responses from those younger siblings. First, the sadness and the grief. Feeling sadness is common among younger siblings, especially if they had a close relationship with their older sibling. The grief as they essentially mourn the loss of the shared experiences that they're used to. They mourn the life that they liked and were used to. The daily conversations, the silly, playful banter, maybe looking to them as a source for information or a source for advice. But that absence of their older sibling can feel like losing a piece of themselves, and it leads to feeling loneliness and even a sense of abandonment. Research on sibling relationships shows that, particularly in very closely bonded siblings, that physical separation can result in emotional detachment as they struggle to fill the void that the older one left behind. So, yeah, my two fit these 2 points to a T. Feelings of loneliness and abandonment, check. Emotional detachment, check. Second, siblings may have feelings of jealousy and resentment because this whole entire process, which the process of this going away to college, it's not like it just starts the fall of their freshman year of college. I mean, really, it starts the beginning of their senior year when it's like, oh my gosh, a year from now, they'll be moving into college. And then they start the whole application process and the touring process and multiple visitations and lots of talk and lots of consideration. And then there's the making of the decision. And then there's the whole graduation. And amongst that, you have all of the this is the last, this is the last, this is the last that keep happening. And then the summer of getting everything ready to go and prepping and shopping. But all of the attention and the fanfare from the parents is caught up in the excitement and the activity of the college freshman. And then after move-in, there's the feelings of the parents are focused on missing the older one, or maybe feelings of resentment from the younger siblings towards the parents because they aren't the same. They aren't behaving the same. Life isn't the same, or our family isn't the same. For the younger siblings, this shift in attention, it can be painful or hurtful, and it can lead to feelings of jealousy. They might resent the focus that has been placed on their sibling and that they feel ignored in comparison. This is especially common when the family dynamic prior to the older sibling's departure was one of mutual attention and shared parental focus. So when it was kind of like we were all on even ground, there was never a favorite before, but now they might feel like there is because the attention has focused to the older one. And then third, responding to the emotional strain of the older sibling's absence, these younger ones may show a range of behaviors that are like anything from just attention-seeking antics to a withdrawal or to isolation. And some children may act out as a way to reclaim that attention that they feel like they have lost. Others might kind of retreat into themselves, becoming quiet or introverted. And in either case, these behavioral shifts are just ways for the younger siblings to express their frustration or to cope with their feelings of displacement. Just the feeling that things aren't right, that everything is off. And systems theory would suggest that these changes in behavior are actually a direct response to this altered family dynamics. It's the product of the siblings trying to recalibrate their roles within the family structure. I do feel like I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge how hard this is on all of us. I mean, of course, I have taken you all on my journey this past year, this past spring with decisions and graduation, and this summer with college looming and move in, and with my brief stint as a poet. But I don't think we've really listed out the struggles that we face because, spoiler alert, parents face their own set of emotional challenges when their child leaves for college. Shocking, I know, right? For many of us, though, this transition is bittersweet. We're proud of them and we're excited and we're happy for them. But there's no way we cannot be sad with the loss of their daily presence in our life. And then the part that I personally was ill prepared for, the fact that this emotional complexity is then compounded by the fact that I am, or that we are, of course, also responsible for managing the emotional well-being of the younger siblings at home. So really, we can feel pulled in multiple directions because we're often the connection between our college students and home, and we're trying to support the college student or college-bound child and comfort the younger siblings and address our own feelings of grief and loss. And without getting too deep in this one, although we alluded it in the marital calm episode, we often need to also manage our partner's emotions about it too. Now, the concept of empty nest syndrome is typically associated with parents whose children have all moved out. But really, the departure of even one child can trigger a similar response. We begin to feel a sense of loss as their role, that one child, and our role in just that one child's life as it shifts from being like daily caretaker to just a distance support. And this change can be emotionally disorienting for us. And it is. And especially if the parent has devoted much of their identity to raising their children. And although I personally don't feel the empty nest thing, and I will add, for some reason that I don't know what the reason is, but the term empty nest angers me. Like, it legit upsets me. I need to explore more about why, but it paints a picture that I don't want to be in or something. But anyway, another topic for another day. But the absence of the older sibling in the household may also change the family routines, leading to feelings of emptiness or a lack of purpose. For me, it's dinner. It's not a surprise to me, but I have lost any interest in cooking or even preparing dinner since Tobias left. My husband is a total picker from the second he walks in the door, and really he'll eat whatever. Nothing makes him especially excited that's for dinner, and there's little that he won't eat. He wasn't raised with like family dinner, so he's always been like whatever when it came to dinner. And Kane, he's super picky, and he would love nothing more than if I ordered him a ham and cheese sub from Jersey Mike's like every single night. And then she's really weird with food. There's no rhyme or reason. Sometimes she eats anything, and sometimes she's super picky. Even like some days she eats chicken, asks for chicken, and other days she's like, why would you even think that I would ever eat chicken? I've never eaten chicken. So yeah, that's a fun game we play. Tobias, though, he has always been my easy eater. Like, he eats and likes all kinds of food. He actually has requests for dinner, and he has preferences of what he likes more than others, that kind of thing. So since he's been at school, it seems to me absolutely pointless to cook dinner. So I have become such a slacker in the dinner department. And then systems theory emphasizes that interconnectedness of our family roles. So when we feel emotionally taxed by our child leaving the nest, see, like making that statement, which I totally only said because the nest portion is so cringy to me. But why? I can't figure out why it bothers me so much. But when our child does leave the nest, fly the coop. Yeah, that's not any better. but it can affect our ability to provide emotional support to the younger ones. We may struggle to balance our own emotional needs with the demands of supporting the other kids who have their own emotional needs and may be grieving the absence of their sibling. And all of this may make the family system feel destabilized as we are trying to manage this dual responsibility. And sometimes it can lead to communication breakdowns or emotional outbursts, even. It's stress. It's the stress of it. It's one of those transition periods that we have talked about that we've said are the most stressful time periods for families, good or bad. Okay, so we cannot be completely self-absorbed here. How about our college kids? What are they going through? There is a kind of typical college freshman adjustment timeline, so to speak, because their transition to college life is not without its own emotional hurdles for them. Yes, the excitement of independence and new experiences, it can totally initially dominate, but many students go through a period of adjustment that's full of being homesick, full of self-doubt, and social anxiety. And like I always preach, understanding this adjustment period can help us to maintain supportive connections during this difficult and critical time for them. Okay, so most of us and them have probably just wrapped up the first block of or first phase of this adjustment period, those first few weeks of college. They are often filled with like a mix of excitement and anxiety. Tavaz always has called it that roller coaster feeling, like when you're about to go on a roller coaster and you're like both really excited and really anxious. And it is that roller coaster feeling at the beginning. They probably are enjoying the novelty of living in a dorm and meeting new people and exploring their independence. But for some, and I know y'all have been dealing with early weeks full of homesickness, and this homesickness often leads to frequent communication with their family because they are trying to find some reassurance or feel that sense of connection with home and with familiarity. And just like clockwork, it's funny because in the last 2 days, I've had two separate conversations with like IRL friends who have freshmen who have said that the contact with that freshman has slowed dramatically. The phone calls have stopped. The texts have become more sporadic. And to both of those people in conversations, my response was, why, that's funny you should say that, because this was the first week that I haven't gotten more than a good night. I had a good busy day text and he's telling me that he'll call me to talk about it tomorrow. And then the same the next day. And then the same the next day. He hasn't popped home in days. And when he did the last time, it was just to shave, I think. I did, though, it was cute. I did catch a glimpse of him in the window of his first floor's study room, which was super cute. I was driving to my office and I texted him that I was passing by. He came to the window and I happened to catch a quick glimpse of him. Funny because he came to the window and he took a picture of me driving down the street. So it's definitely a benefit of having him close by, but also it's not oh, so he'll be home all the time, like people used to always make it seem when I said he was going to UNCW. But the fact that 3 of 3 freshmen that were my very non-scientific sample, or this completely random and anecdotal study of mine, the fact that it completely coincides with what is phase 2 of the college freshman adjustment, which is weeks 5 through 12, they are adapting to their new academic and new social life. Because as the semester progresses, the initial excitement wears off. The students begin facing the academic and social challenges that are the reality of college life. For some, this period brings a lot of stress as they start to realize, like, oh shit, college isn't all hanging out at the rec center or going to parties, playing video games, signing up for random intramural sports or clubs. It's like they start to adjust to a more demanding workload and try to navigate a new social dynamic with this demanding workload once all of the initial relationships and activities all settle. They may start to have feelings of self doubt, especially if they are struggling to keep up with their classes or they feel socially out of place. I've also seen and heard a rise of my daughter is struggling to make friends or my son is struggling to find his place, that kind of thing. Some may begin to question whether they made the right choice of college, especially if they find it difficult to form those meaningful friendships or engage with campus life the way that they thought they would. And then phase three, maybe by week 13, is that most have settled into a routine, although homesickness may continue to linger on for many of them. Those who feel unhappy with their choice of college, that may be the point that they start consider transferring, or they might be looking for support. And a family communication is going to become critical during this time for those kids because they often turn to us or to their siblings for advice, for reassurance. And if they are unhappy, we all, as their parents, as their siblings, we need to walk a very fine line between encouraging them to just persevere and to validating their feelings of discontent. By about this time, then we reach winter break. They come home, and then everything needs to adjust yet again. We need to try to find a way to fit that piece back into our ooey gooey cherry pie family. And if you want to hear more about that, I believe it was December of 2022, a very early episode called Merry and Bright, where we talked about that particular challenge. So, what about them? What about those college freshmen who are unhappy with their choice of schools? It does bring a significant challenge when a college freshman is unhappy with their choice of schools. This dissatisfaction can stem from academic struggles or social difficulties, or even just a mismatch between their expectations and the reality. When they express their unhappiness, it can put additional emotional strain on the family because we are left feeling helpless in order to deal with their struggles with them. So, what can we do to help? Well, we can encourage an open dialogue by creating that open and non judgmental space for them to discuss their feelings rather than immediately encouraging them to just like stick it out, persevere. It's important for us to listen and to validate their experiences. Part of systems theory and our families being systems is the communication aspect and the importance of that reciprocal communication, where each member of the family has the opportunity to express their needs and their emotions. If our family can maintain an open dialogue, we can remain more balanced and reduce the risk of them emotionally isolating themselves from us. And if their unhappiness persists, families can work together to explore potential solutions, such as transferring schools or taking a gap year or seeking on campus resources like counseling or academic support. But it's important to provide a sense of agency to help them feel empowered in their decision making rather than making them feel like they are trapped in a situation that feels hopeless. So let's land this plane. Let's land this plane with some strategies that we can use to adjust or to make adjustment easier for everyone. We need to adopt strategies that foster healthy communication and emotional resilience. Systems theory always suggests that when one part of the family system is disrupted, it's essential to realign and renegotiate our roles and our responsibilities in order to restore that equilibrium. We can do this partially with regular contact with our students. Families totally benefit from establishing regular check ins, either in person or through FaceTimes, as a way to kind of stay connected and provide emotional support to one another. I know families who travel for football games every week or on Sundays every week or every other week just to eat together and to reconnect, or once a month, or if it's distance, trying to have at least a weekly FaceTime with the whole family so that they can connect. But these conversations, they need to go beyond just logistics and actually focus on how each family member is feeling about the transition. And it's really important for the younger siblings to feel that their emotions are valued, even as the older one adjusts to their new life. And I think it's very important for this contact also to be in a daily life, especially for those with younger siblings. I know people who use Snapchat just to stay in contact with the family and with their kids. I know people who send daily pet pictures. That's a really good way to interact just on the daily with your natural everyday home life. Video games together, Game Pigeon. The kids and I, we downloaded this app. It's called Lock It, which is, it's kind of like a Snapchatty with random pictures into our daily life, but it's only amongst us and it shows up on our phone's home screen. It's cute. It's just a good way for everyone to feel a bit more connected. Like as my son's getting in his car, he takes a picture. As my other one's walking through campus, he takes a picture. My daughter takes a picture from school or snuggling up with our bunny. I send pictures of the dogs or of me. Any little thing that can connect, something that is regular and makes everyone feel more connected to each other. We also need to, and this one is hard for me. I will warn you, I'm not good at this, but we need to create new family routines. I don't like that one. I don't like that one at all. And yes, I know that I need to, but I am super resistant because, to be honest, I don't want new routines. I want the old routines. I liked it the old way. I know, but developing new routines can help younger siblings adjust to the absence of their older sibling. Things like scheduling special activities or reassigning official roles within the family, doing something new, maybe something that the older one wouldn't have enjoyed doing. But these new activities or routines can create a sense of stability and belonging and reduce the feelings of loss. I will work on it. I can't make any promises, but I will work on it. And for both the younger siblings and the college freshmen, in us encouraging their independence and their exploration is key. Younger siblings can be encouraged to pursue their own interests and build new friendships, while the college student can be supported as they try to navigate their new environment and find a new sense of community on their campus. And of course, don't forget to encourage your own independence and your own exploration too. Maybe even throw yourself into a passion project. See, my latest obsession is totally healthy. I may not be able to create new routines, but I am definitely exerting my independence and my exploration. Phew, see, I'm not so bad. Thank you so much for joining me today and always. If you've enjoyed the show, please share it with your friends. That's how we'll continue to grow our beautiful community. Reach out to me on socials. It's Reframing Me everywhere. And stay tuned next week. I've got a big, exciting project I've been working on. So until next time, be well and communicate.